السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد, as to what proceeds, respectful students in Islam, in this blessed month of Ramadan, 1442 after Hijrah, Allah the Most High separated from His creation in a manner which befits His Majesty, has granted us all the tawfiq to meet together and study the text of a great scholar of the Sunnah, al-Allāmah al-Najāh Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān, rahimahullah ta'ala, on the topic of fasting. Wasīlah, the knowledge that will be obtained with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beneficial for us. The knowledge that we learn, Allah grants us the strength and ability to act upon it and to convey it to others. إِنَّهُ سَمِيعٌ مُجِيبُ الدُّعَاءِ. So the name of the book or the text which we will be studying is called Wasīlah al-Najāh بِأَدَاءِ الصَّوْمِ وَالصَّلَاةِ وَالْحَجِّ وَالزَّكَاةِ. Means of salvation by performing or by fasting, praying, doing Hajj and giving Zakat. Yani obtaining a means of salvation by fasting, praying Salah, doing Hajj and giving Zakat. وَسِيلَةُ النَّجَاةِ بِأَدَاءِ الصَّوْمِ وَالصَّلَاةِ وَالْحَجِّ وَالزَّكَاةِ. This is the name of the book which we will, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, will be covering in this blessed month of Ramadan. It is the methodology of the scholars and the students of knowledge. Before studying any text or book, we study the biography of the author. Because if we study the biography of the scholar, the seerah or the tarjumah of the scholar, we will know who we are taking knowledge from. And also, we will know the background of the scholar. So it is important, and it is the methodology, the manhaj ahli al-ilm, the methodology of the people of knowledge, that when they start to read a book of a scholar, firstly they read about his biography and his achievements, etc. Somebody may ask this question: what is the benefit of studying the biographies of the scholars? I will say that firstly, when a student of knowledge studies biographies of the scholars, the tarajim or the seerah of the scholars, it teaches the student of knowledge on how to adopt the path for seeking knowledge and a way of thinking and how to use this method for seeking knowledge. The biography explains the way the scholar thinks in solving a specific problem and how he explains certain things and how he extrapolates rulings, etc. Secondly, the biography of any scholar, if it is written accurately and without exaggeration, without ghulu, it will tell you the moments of failure in the life of the scholar, if there are any, as well as his mistakes, as well as the moments of success and how he was blessed to follow the truth. So you can emulate him and avoid the mistakes that he made. Thirdly, the biography of any scholar clearly shows that even great scholars of al-Islam are just human beings, bashar, in their ordinary lives. They make mistakes just like we do. And they have families. They have children. They may even have businesses. They may have commitments. But they are human beings just like us. So just like as we make mistakes, they make mistakes. Just as we forget, they may forget. And the scholars, they change their positions due to extensive, continuous research and progression of knowledge. Like they say, from the cradle to the grave. And this is the greatest evidence of the complex personality of a man. Fourthly, reading the biography of any scholar gives a strong psychological boost when you see the difficulties he faced in his life, and the aspirations he had and achieved, and the patience he bore. So if we are confronted with the same difficulties, we will know how to overcome and tackle them. So these were some points which I wanted to mention with regards to studying the biographies of the scholars. Following this methodology of reading the biography of the scholar, also obtaining the knowledge of what methodology was adopted in the illustration of the scholar, this book or the text that which we will be studying, is extremely important. So we're going to follow the scholars. And the first thing which we are going to study is we're going to study the biography of Muḥammad Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān, rahimahullah ta'ala. So the first thing is his name and his lineage. Who was this man? He was the Imam, the Allama, the Muḥaqqaq, Muhyi Sunnah, the one who revived the Sunnah, and the Qāmi' al-Bid'ah, the terminator of heresies, the one who eliminated bid'at or bid'ah. His kunya was Abu Tayyib, Muḥammad Ṣiddīq Ḥasan ibn Ali ibn Lutfullah al-Qannūjī al-Bukhari. His lineage goes back to Zaynul Abidin ibn Ali ibn al-Husayn ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib, meaning his lineage goes back to the grandson of Husayn ibn Ali, Zaynul Abidin, who was the great grandson of Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu. He was from a place called Qannuj. Qannuj is a city in the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh, known as UP. This city is famous for distilling of scents. It is known as India's perfume capital, and is famous for its traditional Qannuj perfume. This is where he was from, al-Qannūjī. And they say Nazilu Bhopal, that he was from Qannuj, but he settled in Bhopal, and that's where he died. So do we understand who the author is? Abu Tayyib, Muḥammad Ṣiddīq ibn Ḥasan ibn Ali ibn Lutfullah al-Qannūjī al-Bukhari, famously known as Siddiq ibn Ḥasan Khān or Siddiq Ḥasan Khān. With regards to his birthplace and his birth date and where he grew up. As we know that I mentioned that al-Qannūj, he was born in a place called Banis Bareilly, which is in the north of India. Sunday morning, on the 19th of Jamād al-Ula, 1248 after Hijri, corresponding to 14th of October 1832. He was born at his maternal grandfather's home. That's where he was born, who was the mufti of that vicinity. Then his father, after he was born, took him back to his motherland, like they say, al-Qannuji. And after he completed 5 years, whilst he was 6 years old, his father passed away. So then his mother returned back with him to Bani Ismaili. And then he was brought up at his maternal grandfather's house. His mother gave great importance to his tarbiyah, to his upbringing. She assigned a specific teacher that would come and teach him the Quran. So at a young age, Muḥammad Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān's mother, she facilitated for him that he would learn how to read the Quran. And this is what we advise our sisters and our mothers, that they, at an early age, they must facilitate for their children to learn how to read the Quran. Muḥammad Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān, then he learned the Persian language. And he benefited from his elder brother, Ahmad Hasan, who taught him the Arabic language, who was one of his first teachers. So his brother, Ahmad Hasan Khān, showed great importance and paid a lot of attention with regards to his younger brother's education and edification. So after that, Siddiq Ḥasan Khān, he, at an early age, started to seek knowledge. Siddiq Ḥasan Khān, rahimahullah, he talks about his early days of seeking knowledge. He's mentioned in Ibṭāl al-Minan about the great scholar, al-Alim al-Rabbani al-Mujahid, Wilayat Ali al-Sadiq Furi al-Azim Abad. He is the one who fought and started the resistance against the British colonization in India. Al-Allāmah Nawab Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān rahimahullah talks about this great mujahid. He says, إني لقيته في قنوج وحضرت تذكيره فما رأيت أحدا أسرع تأثيرا منه. He said, I met the great scholar Wilayat Ali Sadiq Furi in Qannuj and attended his reminder. I met him in Qannuj and I attended his reminder. And I did not see anyone or meet anyone who was more effective than him rapidly when he spoke. And this is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that when people of knowledge, when they speak, the knowledge that comes out from their mouth has a great impact and effect upon the people. And Siddiq Ḥasan Khān, he says that he met many scholars, but the one who had a great impact upon him was Wilayat Ali Sadiq Puri, rahimahullah ta'ala, the first scholar to start the resistance and who fought against the British due to the oppression and the brutal killing and the atrocities that they committed in the subcontinent by killing Muslims as well as Hindus. The next issue is with regards to him seeking knowledge. Shaykh Wilayat Ali Sadiq Puri. If you want to study about Shaykh Wilayat Ali Sadiq Puri, then there is a book which I can recommend for everybody to read. The Wahhabi movement in India, al-Qiyam. You'll find about Shaykh Wilayat Ali Sadiq Puri rahimahullah, about his role. He was a disciple and a student of Sayyid Ahmad Bareilly rahimahullah ta'ala. With regards to Siddiq Ḥasan Khān and seeking knowledge, we have come to know that he started to seek knowledge at a very young age. So as normal, he decided to take the path and pursue the path of seeking knowledge. So he traveled. Rihla. So he went to Farrakhabad to seek knowledge. Then he went to Kanpur. These are all places in India. When he went to Farrukhabad and Kanpur, two different cities, the scholars that lived or resided in these two places, Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān, without following or being admitted to any madrasa or having a formal form of education or a curriculum that he followed, he read many books to these great scholars. And he benefited in these two cities from the major companions of Sayyid Ahmad Irfan al-Shahid, who was from Rai Bareilly. Sayyid Ahmad Bareilly, who was born in 1786 till 1831. He was the Amir of the Mujahideen. So Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān had the privilege of benefiting and studying with the companions of Sayyid Ahmad Bareilly. So we have Bareilly and Bareilly, as we know. Ahmad Raza Khan Bareilly. Bareilly is a district in India. But Sayyid Ahmad Bareilly was from a place called Rai Bareilly. And due to his father, Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān's father, and the scholars of Farrukhabad and Kanpur, they knew of Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān's father and the status that he had. They would pay extra attention to Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān, rahimahullah ta'ala, so that he was able to seek knowledge. From Kanpur, Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān, rahimahullah, he traveled to Delhi, the center of learning at that time, in 1269 after Hijrah. So in 1269, he traveled to Delhi. And he went there and he took knowledge from the scholars of Delhi, in Ma'qul and Manqul. Meaning, he studied the books of Sunnah, and also he mastered Mantiq and Ilm al-Kalam. And when he went there, he stayed with the great Salafi scholar, one of the Qadis of Delhi, al-Allāmah Bashir al-Qannūjī. Al-Allāmah Bashir al-Qannūjī, rahimahullah ta'ala, who was a companion of Shaykh al-Islam Sayyid Nabi Hussain Dahlawi, a classmate. Both of them, al-Allāmah Bashir al-Qannūjī and Shaykh al-Islam Sayyid Nabi Hussain Dahlawi, rahimahullah, they both studied with the same Shaykh, Shah Ishaq al-Dahlawi. They were both the students of Ishaq al-Dahlawi, rahimahullah ta'ala. So Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān, when he went to Delhi, he stayed with the Shaykh Bashir al-Qannūjī, and he read books of Arabic too. Then he went and spent time and closely associated himself with the Mufti of Delhi, known as Sadruddin Khan al-Dahlawi. And he studied many different disciplines with Sadruddin Khan al-Dahlawi. He read 4 great parts of Sahih al-Bukhari to him directly, and attended and listened to the rest of it. And Sadruddin Khan al-Dahlawi wrote an ijazah for him, and he stayed for 2 complete years with Sadruddin Khan al-Dahlawi. And the famous statement that can be attributed to Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān is لولا السنتان هلك النعمان. This has been attributed to Abu Hanifa. Abu Hanifa said with regards to Ja'far al-Sadiq, that if it wasn't for Ja'far al-Sadiq and I did not spend my time seeking knowledge from him, then Nu'man, meaning Nu'man ibn Thabit, would have been destroyed. So they say something similar to with regards to Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān, that his most tough years were those 2 years when he was in Delhi. and he studied with Sadruddin Khan al-Dahlawi, was not upon the way of the Salaf. He was upon the way of the Muta'akhirin in terms of Aqidah and other issues. The Qadi which I mentioned before, Bashiruddin al-Qannūjī, a companion of him, has refuted him with some books, Walillah al-Hamd wal Minna, who was upon the Salafi Aqidah, refuted Sadruddin Khan al-Dahlawi. At that time, these issues were not as clear as they became afterwards. Siddiq Ḥasan Khān moved on. Then he benefited from Shaykh al-Islam Sayyid Nadir Hussain al-Dahlawi. I researched on the issue of whether Siddiq Ḥasan Khān and Shaykh al-Islam Sayyid Nadir Hussain al-Dahlawi, they ever met. They corresponded with one another through letters. And Shaykh al-Islam Sayyid Nadir Hussain al-Dahlawi rahimahullah, he said to Nawab Siddiq Ḥasan Khān that I'm going to be going for Hajj and I'm going to be in Bombay. So Sayyid Nadir Hussain al-Dahlawi rahimahullah said to Siddiq Ḥasan Khān that we'll meet in Bombay if Allah wills. We'll meet in Bombay if Allah wills. He went to Bombay because from Bombay they would embark upon the ship to go for Hajj. But when they got to Bombay, the companion of Shaykh al-Islam Sayyid Nadir Hussain al-Dahlawi became sick. Don't know whether he was infected with cholera or some disease, but he was very extremely sick. And Shaykh al-Islam Sayyid Nadir Hussain al-Dahlawi, due to his loyalty towards his companion, he sent a message to Siddiq Ḥasan Khān and said that we cannot meet because Bombay is a very big city. I think Siddiq Ḥasan Khān was somewhere, they were supposed to meet in one area. He said, I cannot abandon my companion who is sick. I need to nurse him and look after him. So the Shaykhani Jalilan, Qaddar Allahu ma sha'a fa'al, they did not meet one another. This is the closest that I have read with regards to the biographies of whether these two great giants of the Salafi Dawah met one another. So they could not meet, from according to my research. If anybody else has any other research and that they can benefit us, then let him bring forth that evidence. This is what I came across. So I researched to see that they corresponded with one another, they were in touch with one another. Siddiq Ḥasan Khān benefited from Shaykh al-Islam Sayyid Nadir Hussain al-Dahlawi and vice versa. But they did not meet. So Siddiq Ḥasan Khān, he met great people of knowledge, experts of the Arabic language, those who had hikam, or wise men. And from amongst those who he met was the last Mughal ruler, Muḥammad Sirajuddin Bahadur Jah, who lived from the year of 1775 to 1862. Whilst Siddiq Ḥasan Khān rahimahullah was in Delhi, and this is what is the highlight of one of the points of his biography, he started transcribing books. He wrote a sharh of a book in the Arabic language called al-Mizan, and he would teach some students of knowledge at times. So Siddiq Ḥasan Khān rahimahullah, as you will see, is that he would transcribe a lot of books, discussing the issue with regards to his shuyukh and his students. Siddiq Ḥasan Khān rahimahullah ta'ala, he studied with many scholars from India as well as Yemen. And he benefited from them in the sciences of Quran and Hadith and Fiqh and the Arabic language. From amongst his most popular shuyukh and teachers is his elder brother, al-Sayyid al-Allama Ahmad ibn Hasan ibn Ali Khan. Then Mufti Muhammad Sadruddin Khan al-Dahlawi. Then the great Salafi Yemeni scholar al-Qadi Hussain ibn Muhsin al-Ansari, a student of al-Allama Muhammad ibn Nasir al-Hazimi, who was the student of al-Allama Qadi Muhammad ibn Ali al-Shawkani, and the great Indian Shaykh who lived for a long time and was very pious, Abdul Haq ibn Fadlullah al-Hindi. Also al-Shaykh al-Taqi Muhammad Yaqub al-Muhajir ila Makkah. Many of the shuyukh granted Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān an ijazah. And his ijazah is his thabat, or the book which has all his ijazah, is known as Silsilatul Asjad fi Mashayikh as-Sind. He had a lot of students that studied with him and that took ijazah from him. And from amongst them is al-Allamatul Muhaddith Yahya ibn Ahmad ibn Hasan al-Hazim, who was the Qadi of Aden in Yemen. Also, the great scholar, the Mufti of Baghdad, Sayyid Nu'man Khairuddin al-Alusi, the son of the famous tafsir known as Ruh al-Ma'ani. He was from amongst the students of Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān and others. So it shows so far from his biography that Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān had a very strong bond with the scholars of Yemen, due to Shawkani and other scholars. Until this day we find that until Shaykh Muqbil ibn Hadi al-Wadi rahimahullah was alive, we found that the Marj, where Shaykh Muqbil ibn Hadi al-Wadi rahimahullah was located, that they would teach the books of Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān and they would study the books of Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān. To the extent we find that when one of the students of Shaykh Muqbil ibn Hadi al-Wadi visited the UK many years ago, he taught one of the books of Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān on marriage. Two important qualities that we find in Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān: transcribing books and his bond and connection with the Salafi Yemeni scholars. Going back to al-Shawkani rahimahullah ta'ala. The next issue that I'm going to talk about is that his trip to Hijaz to perform Hajj, Rihlatul Hajj, and the impact that it had upon him seeking knowledge, and his books and his illustrations. So Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān, in the year 1285 after Hijrah, through the ocean, meaning embarking through the ship on a ship, he went for Hajj from Bombay. That's when we find that him and Shaykh al-Islam Sayyid Nadir Hussain Dahlawi rahimahullah ta'ala were supposed to meet. When he went on Hajj, he wrote down his journal, I can say, and he wrote a whole book about his trip to Makkah. He wrote a book, it's called Rihlatul Siddiq ila al-Bayt al-Atiq. Rihlatul Siddiq ila al-Bayt al-Atiq. And he says about himself, he said, when he was on the ship, he says, وَلَمْ أُضَيِّعْ زَمَنَ رُقُوبِ الْبَحْرِ أَبَثًا. Because that I did not waste any time, including that when I was embarked upon the ship in the ocean, even that time I utilized for beneficial knowledge. And he transcribed, whilst he was going to Makkah, a book known as As-Sārim al-Munki li Ibn Abdul Hadi, the son of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. So this book, As-Sārim al-Munki fi Radd Ibn Sukki, written by the noble student of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Abdul Hadi, in defense of his Shaykh. Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān, he transcribed the whole book whilst he was on the ship going for Hajj. And we'll talk about this book. This book is a refutation with regards to the issue of whether it's permissible to travel with the intention of taking an Islamic expedition to the Prophet's grave or any other grave, which is known as Mas'alatu Shidda Rihal. Hadith is in al-Bukhari, that an Islamic expedition can only be taken for three masajid: Masjid al-Haram, al-Masjid al-Nabawi and al-Masjid al-Aqsa. So there was a dispute. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, which is the way of the Salaf, which is the way of the Sahaba, and the way of the Salaf, he said that taking an Islamic expedition with the intention of visiting the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's grave is a bid'ah, is an heresy in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Ibn al-Subki refuted Shaykh al-Islam after he died, and then Ibn Abdul Hadi wrote the response. So this book was transcribed while Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān was traveling and was on his journey, was on his Islamic expedition of fulfilling one of the pillars of al-Islam, which is al-Hajj. Whilst on his trip to Hajj, Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān, rahimahullah ta'ala, on the way to Hajj, he stopped by in Yemen, in Aden and al-Hudaydah. And he spent a few days at the house of his Shaykh, al-Qadi Hussein ibn Muhsin al-Ansari, the great Salafi Shaykh, and I say to the students of knowledge, if you can find any book of this scholar, hold on to it with your molder teeth, because you will find nothing but knowledge in his books. The great Salafi Shaykh, al-Qadi Hussein ibn Muhsin al-Ansari rahimahullah ta'ala. I have seen the manuscript of his Fatawa in Arabic. And you will see that Shaykh Muqbil was a reflection of al-Qadi Hussein ibn Muhsin al-Ansari. And he had a brother called Zainul Abidin. And al-Qadi Hussein ibn Muhsin al-Ansari, al-Yamani, just like the Yemenis are known for their great hospitality, they honored and were hospitable to Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān. He praised them. And Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān, rahimahullah, he himself talks about the days that he spent in Yemen. He said, وَأَقَمْتُ هُنَا 12 يَوْمًا أُرَاجِئُ كُتُبَ الْحَدِيثِ وأكتبها بيدي ما أستطيع ولم أذهب إلى المساجد إلا للصلوات الخمس لكثرة اشتغالي بطلب العلم. So he said, I stayed in Yemen for 12 days. And whilst in these 12 days, all I did was memorize books of hadith. And I would write with my hand whatever I was able to write, whatever benefits, whatever. And I would not go to the masajid except for the 5 obligatory prayers, due to me being extremely busy in seeking knowledge. And then he said that I gave a gift of my book which I had written, al-Hittah fi dhikri as-Sihah as-Sittah. Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān wrote a book about the 6 books of hadith. And this book, its editing, its tahqiq has been done by one of the students of Shaykh Muqbil, like I said to you from the March. Al-Hittah fi dhikri as-Sihah as-Sittah. So he gave copies of this book to the ulama of Hudaydah and Marawa'ah. And all of them, when they read this book, they praised him for the great work he has done. And I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that one day me and my students will go through this book, because it's an important book to know with regards to the 6 books of hadith. Whilst he was in Yemen, Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān, he borrowed the Rasail of al-Amir al-San'ani, Muḥammad al-San'ani. Al-Amir Muḥammad al-San'ani is the one who wrote an explanation to Bulugh al-Maram, which has been translated into the English language and published, Madar al-Salah, known as Subul al-Salah. Like I said, if you are able to buy any book of al-Amir al-San'ani, then buy his books. Scholars that I have mentioned today, the Shaykh of Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān, Hussein ibn Muhsin al-Ansari, and al-Amir al-San'ani, you can see that Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān was so inquisitive that he borrowed the Rasail of Amir al-San'ani, and he studied them. And he transcribed most of them. This is the habit of Siddiq Ḥasan Khān. And we say that he is worthy of being called al-Imām. No doubt. There is no ghulu if we call al-Amir al-San'ani al-Imām, who was one of the students of Muḥammad Ṣiddīq Rahimahullah ta'ala. So Siddiq Ḥasan Khān borrowed all the books that could be found of al-San'ani, al-Amir al-San'ani, and he transcribed everything. And whilst he was on this journey of his, he bought many books. It is Siddiq Ḥasan Khān bought the books of Ibn Taymiyyah, like Iqtidā'u as-Sirāt al-Mustaqīm. The books of Shawkani, Nail al-Awtar, his Tafsir Fath al-Qadir, his book on Usul al-Fiqh, Irshad al-Fu'ul. It is Siddiq Ḥasan Khān who brought them all back from Yemen to the subcontinent. He was the one who introduced the books of Shawkani to the subcontinent. And from amongst the books that he bought is Fath al-Bari of Ibn Hajar, with the khat or the writing of Ibn Allan al-Siddiqi. Who was Ibn Allan al-Siddiqi? He was born in the year 996 after Hijrah and died in the year 1057 after Hijrah. He is Muhammad Ali ibn Muhammad Allan ibn Ibrahim al-Bakri al-Siddiqi al-Shafi'i. He bought a copy of Fath al-Bari with 600 gold dinars. And then with this edition of Fath al-Bari, he printed, based upon this edition of Fath al-Bari, he printed it in the subcontinent. All of it on his own cost. And from Hudaydah, through the ocean, he got to Jeddah. And then he reached Makkah at the end of the al-Qa'dah. He performed Umrah. And then he took advantage of the time and the opportunity that he had by trying to collect beneficial books and works, where he said himself, وَمِنْ غَايَةِ الشُّغَفِ بِعُلُومِ السُّنَّةِ لَمْ أَتْرُكْ كِتَابَةَ الْعِلْمِ بِعَرَفَةَ وَمِنَى فِي أَيَّامِ إِقَامَتِهَا لَكِنْ فِي غَيْرِ أَوْقَاتِ الْمَنَاسِكِ. He said that during the days of Hajj, due to my passion and love for the Sunnah and its sciences, I did not cease or stop writing knowledge even whilst I was in Arafah and Mina, till all the days that I stayed there, except that when I had to perform the rituals of Hajj during that time, that's the only time I stopped seeking knowledge. And this should teach the student of knowledge something very important here. Siddiq Ḥasan Khān's biography teaches us that seeking knowledge of the Sunnah should not cease even in the month of Ramadan. Look at Siddiq Ḥasan Khān. Whilst he's in Arafah, whilst he's in Mina, he's writing the Sunnah. He's writing Hadith. He's studying Hadith. The only time he ceases and stops is when he has to perform the rituals of Hajj, the manasik, due to the love and passion he had for the Sunnah. So the love and the passion of the Sunnah does not stop, whether it's in Dhul Qa'dah, whether it's in Dhul Hijjah, whether it's in Makkah, or whether it's in Ramadan. For some, have that passion of mastering and learning and seeking the knowledge of the Sunnah. So in my opinion, acknowledging that Ramadan is the month of the Quran and giving a great portion of our time to reciting the Quran and trying to understand and reflect and comprehend the Quran, but along with that, seeking knowledge of the Sunnah continues. Does not cease. And Siddiq Ḥasan Khān is a great example for us. So Siddiq Ḥasan Khān, he mentioned some of the great books that he bought whilst he was on this trip, his expedition on Hajj. And he said that the amount of books that he transcribed some voluminous books as well as some small books, is lost. Then after he completed his Hajj in Safar, he went to Medina, and there he bought the book Al-Madkhal of Ibn al-Hajj. And then he returned back to Makkah performing an Umrah. And from there he departed through Jeddah back to his country, the subcontinent. The whole time that he spent in Mecca and the trip to Yemen was of 8 months. And his 8 months that he spent is an example of taking advantage and taking the opportunity to seek knowledge and the books of knowledge. With regards to his wedding and the impact that his life had upon knowledge. After Siddiq Ḥasan Khān returned back to India after performing Hajj, Siddiq Ḥasan Khān then moved from Qannuji to a place called Bhopal, which is in India, which is in MP. They call it MP, Bangladesh, in the middle of India. And it was there where he spent most of his days, till his last days, where he reached the status of being an imam and an authority in the different sciences of Islam. And he became a great author, where he illustrated books, where he reached the status of being an imam and an authority in the different sciences of Islam. And he became a great author, where he illustrated books based upon al-ulum al-aqliya wal-naqliya, narrations as well as aql, or as they say, adillatul aqliya, rational proofs. And his books, he illustrated his books in 3 languages: Arabic, Persian, and the Urdu language. And he was a person who strived extremely hard and spent a lot of time in teaching, illustrating, and documenting and transcribing. So whilst he was in Bhopal, the queen of Bhopal, Shahjahan Begum, who was ruling Bhopal at that time, asked for Siddiq Ḥasan Khān to marry. And he married Shahjahan Begum in the year 1288 after Hijrah. And she appointed him as one of his deputies and one of his ministers. And she gave him the title of al-Nawwab, 1288 now. As we know that nation is not successful, which takes a woman as the leader. So when Siddiq Ḥasan Khān came, she started to take a step back, and Siddiq Ḥasan Khān, rahimahullah, started to take authority of all the affairs, which was a smart move by Siddiq Ḥasan Khān, rahimahullah ta'ala. She referred back to him. One of the great qualities that Shahjahan Begum had, due to the authority, power, wealth that she had, is that she supported and funded and aided the Salafi da'wah, meaning the da'wah of Siddiq Ḥasan Khān. And through her wealth, through his wife's wealth, Siddiq Ḥasan Khān was able to print books of the Sunnah and was able to benefit the people and spread the Salafi da'wah. This is the benefit that came of Siddiq Ḥasan Khān marrying Shahjahan Begum. She fully funded the Salafi da'wah. She fully funded the Salafi ulama. When it came to having madaris or printing books, whatever Siddiq Ḥasan Khān needed, and he was given the title after he married her, Nawwab. Nawwab means a ruler, like a king. She aided the Salafi da'wah, she stood with her husband. And she referred to him in most of his affairs, most of her affairs. And it was this that Siddiq Ḥasan Khān devised a plan of bringing all the major Salafi scholars to Bhopal. So this kingdom that she had, Siddiq Ḥasan Khān, he transformed it. He transformed it by bringing the scholars and appointing them as the qudat, the judges, and appointing them in high positions. So he established a Islamic affairs or an Islamic ministry which consisted of futya and qada and tadris and al-hisba, commanding the good and forbidding the evil. And he brought all the Salafi ulama, and Siddiq Ḥasan Khān gave them all positions. It was there where he devised the plan of translating the books of hadith in the Urdu language. This was funded by Siddiq Ḥasan Khān. Just imagine all the great major scholars, the great students of Shaykh al-Islam Sayyidina al-Dahlawi, like Allāmah Bashir Sahsawani, and his own teacher like Bashiruddin al-Qannuji, who was called to come and be the head of the judges. They were all called to Bhopal. Paid for everybody. So the head of the judges of that time, the brother of his Shaykh, Zainul Abidin ibn Muhsin al-Yamani, was appointed as the head of the judges. And with regards to ifta and fatawa and teaching, his teacher, al-Muhaddith al-Kabir, Hussein ibn Muhsin al-Ansari al-Yamani, calling from Yemen, you will be the head of ifta and teaching. Siddiq Ḥasan Khān did not just open madaris which had Islamic knowledge, but he also opened schools and centers for learning knowledge. And he would give prizes, and he would appoint salaries to students of knowledge and scholars. For example, he would say, for the one who memorizes Sahih al-Bukhari, he will give him 1,000 rupees at that time. Just imagine. For the one who memorizes Bulugh al-Maram, he will give him 100 rupees. Just imagine at that time how much money this must have been. And he established many libraries, big libraries which had rare books and manuscripts. He established printing presses for books. And he facilitated for scholars who were not in Bhopal with him, they were able to teach and educate and were able to write books. And from amongst them, Abu al-Makan, Muhammad Ali al-Mawi, from Maunat, Wanji, who didn't come to Bhopal, but Siddiq Ḥasan Khān would send him money so that he was able to write in defense of the Sunnah. So knowledge and amal, ilm wa amal, with the Sunnah spread in Bhopal due to Siddiq Ḥasan Khān. With regards to his aqeedah and his madhab, Siddiq Ḥasan Khān was from amongst those who was upon the pure Sunni Salafi aqeedah. And his call was to the call of Kitāb and the Sunnah. And he waged war against taqleed, blind following. And he waged war against shirk and bid'ah and khurafat. For the one who studies his biography in detail and refers to his books, he will know. The khulasa of his aqeedah and his madhab is that he was upon the madhab of the people of hadith, Ahlul Hadith wa Ahlul Dha'if, al-aqeedah and usul al-fiqh. This was Nawab Siddiq Ḥasan Khān, the king of Bhopal, rahimahullah ta'ala. Now talking about some of the works that he left behind and some of the illustrations that he did. Siddiq Ḥasan Khān is known amongst the people of knowledge of having wrote many of his books, many books. He was known as an author. They say that he wrote over 200 books. Some books were voluminous, some were a few hundred pages, some were extremely small. In 3 languages, Arabic, Urdu and Persian. They say about his Arabic books reached to up to 56 books. He started to write books when he was only 20 years old. And he was somebody who gave great importance to writing books, to writing. He was somebody who Allah had gifted that he could transcribe and write extremely fast. He was a person who had great conviction and had high aspirations for what he did. He remained writing books for almost 30 years. And for the one who looks at his efforts of how much he transcribed, and let him look at what he did when he went for Hajj for those 8 months, and how long or the duration that took him to write books, he will see something strange that very few people are given. And that is that he had barakah. He was blessed with his time and he preserved his time, meaning that he looked after his time very carefully. 2 important qualities that a student of knowledge must pray and beg Allah to grant him. Siddiq Ḥasan Khān was granted. That Allah grants barakah in your work and in your time. And that you are somebody who does not waste time. Some of his most important books that you can refer back to is Abjad al-Ulum. This is a very important book. Talks about all the different funun that we have. And another good book about the biography of the scholars is Ithaf al-Nubala al-Muttaqeen bi-Ihya'i Ma'athir al-Fuqaha al-Muhaddithin. A book of biographies of the fuqaha from amongst the muhaddithun. A book he has about Allah being above the arsh, al-Ihtiwa ala mas'alat al-Istiwa. He has a book, Radd al-Ishraq, which was written by Shah Ismail Dahlawi, famously known as Shaheed. He made takhrij of that book of the ahadith. It's called Al-Idrak li takhrij ahadith Radd al-Ishraq. He has another book called Arba'una Hadithan, 40 narrations in the Fadail of Hajj and Umrah. He has a book called Al-Iksir fi Usul al-Tafsir. Another book he has is Ifadat al-Shuyukh bi Miqdar al-Nasikh al-Mansukh. A book on Nasikh al-Mansukh. Another book that he has is Al-Intiqad al-Rajih fi Sharh al-I'tiqad al-Sahih. A book on the correct Aqidah of a Muslim. Usul fi Aqdiyat al-Rasul. A book on the judgments of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He has a book which he wrote just for women, Husn al-Uswa bima thabata min Allah wa rasulihi fi niswa. He has a book called Husul al-Ma'mul min ilm al-Usul, which is a abridgment of Irshad al-Fuhul of Shawkani in Usul al-Fiqh. He has the book which we mentioned, Al-Hitta fi Dhikr Sihah al-Sittah. He has a book on Madhahib and Adyan and deviated sects called Khabi'atul Akwan fi Iftiraq al-Umami ala al-Madahib wal-Adyan. He has the book Rihlatul Siddiq ila al-Bayt al-Atiq, like we mentioned. Then he has a sharh of the book of Shawkani, Ar-Rawdatul Nadiyya fi Sharh Durar al-Bayt. Another book he has is Riyadul Jannah fi Tarajim Ahli Sunnah, a book of biographies. Then he has a small sharh of Bukhari called Awnul Bari bi Halli Adillatil Bukhari. He has a book on the sharh of Thulathiyat of al-Bukhari, Ghuniyatul Qari fi Tarjumati Thulathiyat al-Bukhari. Then his tafsir of the Quran, Fathul Bayan fi Maqasid al-Quran, in 4 volumes. Then he has a book called Qasdu Sabil ila Dhamm al-Kalam wa al-Ta'wil. He has a book refuting Ahlul Kalam, which is now a discussion that's going on social media amongst some Juhala wa al-Ta'wil. He's written a whole book refuting that this type of knowledge should be avoided. Then he has another book on Salafi Aqidah called Qatf al-Thamar min Aqa'id Ahli al-Athar. Then he has another book on Aqidah called Ad-Din al-Khalis, which is an amazing book. He has a book called Misk al-Khitam, Sharh Bulugh al-Maram, in 2 volumes, which is a Sharh of Bulugh al-Maram. Then he has a book on only the ayats of the Quran from the beginning till the end that have a legal connotation. Nailul Muram min Tafsiri Ayat al-Ahkam. Then he has a book refuting Taqleed. It's called Al-Iqleed li Adillat al-Ijtihad wa al-Taqleed. These are some of the books that I mentioned. Siddiq Ḥasan Khān, rahimahullah, at the end of his life, he was oppressed due to some political reasons. And in 1307, he became extremely sick with a medical condition in which liquid forms in parts of the body, known as istisqa. One of the famous biographers of the scholars of the subcontinent, Abdul Hayy al-Hasani, the father of Abu al-Hasan al-Nadwi, he says that he became extremely sick to the extent that he was severely ill, exhausted by treatment, that he would faint at times and he would be unconscious for a while. They say that when he was unconscious, with his eyes closed, his thumbs, this would move, as though he was writing something. Subhanallah, look at this. What a quality of a scholar. He's unconscious, but they say that his thumb, it will move, as though he's writing something. As though that he's busy writing something. He's unconscious, but his thumb is moving like this. His thumb and his index finger is moving as he's writing. Then at the end of Jamad al-Akhirah, in the year 1307, he woke up for a while. He was unconscious for many days. I don't know whether he was in a coma or that, but he woke up. And during his thumb and his index finger. And he asked his companion, Shaykh Zulfiker Ibra, he asked him about one of his books called Maqālāt al-Ihsān. That was the last book that he illustrated, which was a translation of the book known as Futuh al-Ghayb or Abdul Qadir Jailani. He asked him, he said, has the book been printed from the press? So Shaykh Zulfiker said to him, it's at any time now it will reach us. He said, maybe it will reach us today or tonight or tomorrow. He praised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon that, and he said, this is the last day of the month, and this is the last book that I have written. When half of the night had passed, then he started saying, أحب لقاء الله. I love and I desire to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said this once or twice, and then he asked for water, and then the water was given to him, and he was put over his face and everything. And then he passed away on the 29th of Jamad al-Akhirah in the year 1307 at the age of 59, 3 months and 6 days, corresponding to the 26th of May 1890. Before he passed away, he wrote in his Wasīlah that he should be buried according to the Sunnah. And as he had requested, Sunnah was implemented, and his janazah became the biggest janazah in the history of Bhopal. There were so many people that attended his janazah that they had to pray 3 times, to the extent that the people came to know of who this man really was. That there was not a man that lived like him in their vicinity, in their province. Hundreds and thousands of people came. And the statement of Imam Ahmad in this context and in this time in Bhopal, he said, Al-bid'u baynana wa baynakum al-janā'iz. And between the people of bid'ah and the people of al-Sunnah are the janā'iz. So this was Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān, rahimahullah ta'ala. The book that we have in front of us, Wasīlah al-Najāh, is one of the books. The book was written in the Urdu language by Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān. It consists of 104 pages. It was printed by al-Jamia Salafiyya in Banaras, India, in Rajab 14-1, after age of 1981. First edition that was printed, 2,000 copies were printed of it by Idaratul Buhuth al-Islamiyya wa Da'wa wal-Iftā. Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān has an introduction, tamheed of the book, written of 2 pages, starting with the hadith of Ibn Umar on the 5 pillars of Islam, as mentioned in al-Bukhari and Muslim, which Allāma Nawab Ṣiddīq Ḥasan Khān has explained. Then he refuted the Murji'ah by explaining that action is part of Iman and that all 4 pillars must be practiced on. Then he brought the ayah of Surah al-Ankabut, ayah number 45, Inna as-salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar wa la dhikrullahi akbar wallahu ya'lamu ma tasna'un. Indeed, prayer prohibits immorality and wrongdoing, and the remembrance of Allah is greater, and Allah knows that which you do. Then he talked about the second pillar, which is Salah, from pages 3 to 17. Then from page 17, he talked about the pillar of fasting, which we are going to study, which is divided into the following issues. The first issue is the virtues of fasting. The second issue is the Islamic ruling of women fasting voluntarily fasts. Third issue is traveling and fasting. The fourth issue is the harm and damage for not fasting the fasts of Ramadan. The fifth issue is voluntarily fasts. The sixth issue is sighting of the crescent new moon and testifying it. And the next issue is making up the fasts and its atonement, kafar. Then lastly, he talks about i'tikaf. So these are the issues which we will be studying. Then he moves on from page 23. So from 17 to 23 is what we are going to study. Then he talks about zakat, pages from 23 to 28. Then from pages from 29 to 59, he talks about the ayats of salah and zakat. Then from pages 63 to 65, he talks about the ayats of fasting, which we will be studying as well. Then from 65 to 75, he talks about the ayat of hajj. Then from 77 to 81, he talks about why are we waiting for the Mahdi to come. He talks about the emergence of al-Imam Mahdi, or the Mahdi. And then from pages 83 to 104, he talks about the soft heartness, the narrations which talk about softening the hearts, ar-raqaiq. And then he finishes the book. So we'll stop here. Barakallahu feekum, inshallah. And we'll meet again on Thursday to start the book. I hope today's lesson has been beneficial, and you know who Siddiq Ḥasan Khān, rahimahullah ta'ala, was a legend and a scholar who left a legacy. Barakallahu feekum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.